Hey y'all, and welcome to Politibrawl. My name is Brian, and Bill Hagerty absolutely shuts down smug Kristen Welker live on her own show when she tries to calling out Trump's cabinet picks as unqualified. She was not ready for this.
The FBI leadership worked together with big tech to censor the Hunter Biden laptop that allowed President Biden to basically, fool the American public and come into office. There are serious problems at the FBI. The American public knows it. They expect to see sweeping change, and Kash Patel is just the type of person to do it.
Okay, so I hear you saying you are a yes, and yet a lot of folks
Yes.
have raised questions about whether Patel is qualified. President-elect Trump floated the idea of Patel as his deputy FBI director at the end of his first term. His attorney general at the time, Bill Barr, rejected the idea, later writing this is in his memoir, quote, Patel had virtually no experience that would qualify him to serve at the highest level of the world's preeminent law enforcement agency. Senator, how seriously do you take Barr's warnings?
Listen, I think you should have the Biden administration look at itself. What is the qualification of Tony Blinken to become Secretary of State? Well, he organized 51 so-called intelligence experts to put together a fake letter saying that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation. That must have qualified him to be Secretary of State. President Trump is entitled to name his appointees. That is exactly what he's doing, and I'm going to support this appointment. Kash has worked in national security. He's worked at the Department of Justice, and he's somebody that has been willing to uncover the wrongs at the FBI. He's the one that uncovered for the American public what happened with Russiagate. He's the one that can see through the fix here.
So, Senator, you are disregarding what Bill Barr, the former attorney general under Donald Trump, is saying, his warnings that he just doesn't have the experience.
I'm saying there are people that are serving in the current administration that are woefully inexperienced. I think Kash does have relevant experience, particularly when it comes to the mandate the American public has signed of turning these agencies around that have become completely corrupted. Kash has pointed it out. He's probably the best at uncovering what's happened at the FBI, and I look forward to seeing him taking it apart.
All right. Well, let's talk about one of the other big headlines this week, tariffs. President-elect Trump announcing he would impose 25% tariffs against Mexico and Canada, more tariffs against China, the United States' three biggest trading partners. Major companies from Best Buy to Home Depot and Walmart all warning that tariffs could lead to higher prices. So, Senator, I wonder, are you comfortable with these tariffs, even if it does, in fact, lead to higher prices?
Well, Kristen, I think one of the most important things that we have as a nation is our economy. That's the most important, most incredible source of competitive advantage that the United States has. Access to our economy is a privilege. If you think about it, we've made access to this economy a strategic tool ever since World War II. If you think about what happened in Japan and countries in Europe, when those economies were decimated, the United States put in place very favorable terms of trade to get those countries to rebuild their economies, to trade with us rather than trading with communist countries. We have used these tools effectively decade after decade after decade. Right now, the United States has the most open market of any major economy in the world. We need to take a very hard look at countries that don't have our best interest at heart, countries that are allowing our borders to be violated, and use those tariffs as a tool to achieve our ends.
But are you concerned this could lead to a trade war, Senator?
What it needs to lead to is a correction of the behavior that's taking place right now that is letting fentanyl flood into our border, that is allowing people to flood into our country, millions of people, undocumented, illegal people breaking into our country. It needs to stop.
Ladies and gentlemen, that ball is going, gone. Bill Hagerty just hit a home run with this answer. I love everything about this. So note down the launch angle, note down how far it went, and of course, its exit velocity. This is a fantastic answer. There must be something in the Tennessee water, because I think I just covered Tim Burchett in one of the other recent programs, and he did a fantastic job. And so what Bill Hagerty is getting at here, there's pretty much just two main points here. First off, we've got to talk about tariffs. Now, I hate talking about tariffs. Why? Well, in this year 1819, in the early United States of America, the war hawks that got us into the War of 1812 passed a very pro-northern tariff that really screwed over the southern states, and the southern states almost seceded. That's how we got the Compromise of 1820. But it forever broke American politics. It broke it so bad that ultimately the cataclysm of the war between the states started because of this policy. So tariffs have had a very interesting and not that great of a history, except that they basically avoided the federal government being too big to directly tax you. This used to be the way the federal government raised its funds until Woodrow Wilson decided to make everything terrible in 1913 and tried his best to help, and he succeeded in passing the amendment that allowed the income tax, and it's gotten worse ever since. Seriously, nothing has been improved because of the income tax. But there's a longer history behind that. But before that year, before 1913, most of the federal government's revenue came from tariffs. And so occasionally that will screw over certain people. It did not help out the American farmer when Donald Trump decided to have a miniature tariff war with the Chinese Communist Party. Except that he was getting somewhere. Remember, Trump has pretty much three major policy goals when he first came into office. Renegotiate trade deals with pretty much everyone. Then make sure that NATO is paying its fair share, and try to get Mexico to actually do something about the cartels, and make sure that our border security is there, and try to build a wall. Needless to say, two of those things really didn't need Congress, and the Congress got involved in building the wall, and of course, nothing changed. So Trump was doing a fantastic job in getting these tariffs to renegotiate major deals with different nations. And finally, he got to China in middle of 2019, and he was threatening these tariffs, and the American farmer was going, you know what, we're okay with this. Trump, keep up the great work. It hurt everyone in their pocketbook a little bit, but that was also offset by the successful negotiations. And then a certain unspecified virus of unknown origin came in and ruined everything. So that is the second part of this video. So when people say trade war, that's really just bait for Democrats saying, the sky is falling, there's going to be a trade war, be afraid. That's what they're trying to do, so don't fall for it, okay? So don't fall for that nonsense. Instead, pivot to how that actually worked during the Trump administration, because it did. And so back to the first part of this conversation, all about Kash Patel and his leading of the FBI. And Anthony Barr is out there saying, be careful, that's going to be a bad thing. Or was it Timothy Barr? Am I getting Anthony Barr mixed up with a linebacker? Someone in the comments, please correct me below. But one of Trump's former lawyers, Barr, who I think was not Secretary of State, maybe Attorney General for a while. Man, all these names start to run together. But Barr is now out there running his own little campaign, trying to stay relevant in the news. And he's saying that we have to be very, very careful about how Trump is reorganizing the FBI. I agree. I think we should be very, very careful. Because instead of chopping off half a limb, I think we should hack off an entire torso. Because the FBI has been improperly weaponized against the American people, trampling on rights, all because under Democrat leadership, it just so happened that Catholics didn't like abortion, so they got put on a list. Parents didn't like the trans identity crap that's being pushed on their kids in schools, so they got put on a list. The FBI has been weaponized and needs to be cut down to size. It needs to be trimmed, it needs to be neutered in some ways, and it needs to be put to actual good use, like, oh, I don't know, what happens when a cartel crosses state lines? Oh yeah, get the FBI involved in that. I mean, Mayorkas never had the guts to do that, but Trump would. So we are going to be talking about how Trump is setting up his cabinet, and what he's really doing is three things. One, he's ensuring loyalty. All right, that's very important to Trump, and I don't blame him. He is outside the political strata, and so as much as I don't like it when people get all nepotistic and start picking their people from their circles. For instance, Bill Hagerty brought up one guy, Anthony Blinken. Anthony Blinken was a glorified water carrier, not a water boy, but a water carrier, and that's just someone who does all the menial work for major political organizations and major political people. And so he worked his way up the ranks and finally got a major position. So once again, he could carry water and do exactly as he was told. That's not, however, that's not how Republicans think. That's not how Trump thinks. Trump wants a certain X, Y, and Z to happen. And again, number one's loyalty. All right. Number two is competency. And number three is vision. See, Democrats care about people doing as they're told. Republicans tend to care more about competency at any and all levels. And that's what Trump is doing with his picks in his cabinet. He cares about loyalty, competency, and vision. That's why Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are going to be the head of a new sort of department agency, the Department of Government Efficiency. And again, if you get the joke, if you get the meme, it is a double-sided sword of hilariousness and hope. And then, of course, you have RFK Jr., whose goal, his vision, is solely, let's make America healthy again. What we do to our people, the way our products are created, the way our food is served, is terrible for us, and they don't stand for this in the modern world. They don't stand for it in Europe. I don't even think they would stand for it in third world countries, and yet we do it here. That needs to end. So again, Trump is looking for loyalty, he is looking for vision, and he's looking for competency. Compare that to Democrats who pretty much just want a person to do exactly as they're told. That's the difference between people who think top down and someone who thinks, okay, we are going to set this toy, we're going to set this watch, and let it work its magic. That is a much better way to lead a government agency than this top-down nonsense that we keep on trying to push on the American people. And I brought this up earlier with the tariffs, and I'll end with this. Under Woodrow Wilson, the federal government ballooned to an exorbitant size because his idea was that bureaucrats should run your life. Republicans hate that ideology, even the progressive ones. That is the fundamental problem with a lot of Democrats today. And Donald Trump is taking that ball, he is going to take a chainsaw to it, rework it, and make it into something much more smaller, much more usable, so that once again, America can have a government that works for its people. Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on Politibrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. And until then, y'all have a good one.